Hey, 8th graders, it's Mrs. Taylor with a quick fiction break. I know we've been working a lot on understanding our nonfiction texts, so we wanted to mix it up while you didn't have a teacher in your classroom. Today we're going to talk about inferencing. Inferencing is when you take the information you have in a text and make sure you understand it, then use that information to fill in the gaps about what the author may mean or what might happen next. You may have heard that inferring from a text is like educated guessing, and it is. That's absolutely right. But inferencing goes a little bit farther because inferencing means that you have evidence to back up or to prove why you guessed what you did. I know you guys can infer because you do it all the time. You think about what someone said and you make logical leaps about what they might mean based on your interactions with them previously or what you already know about them. You infer when you watch a show and try to guess what will happen next when they break for commercials or between the episodes. Today I'm going to read you a short story, and I want you to make some inferences about the text. You can think about what may happen next because you're great readers who know how stories go. You can fill in the gaps based on your background knowledge and evidence from what I've read. But I need you to listen closely. You may want to pause and check for your understanding a few times as I'm reading, or you may want to listen to the read aloud portion of this video more than once. I've left a worksheet for you to fill out about the short story, and I really think you're going to like it. It's called The Visitors. Some of you may have heard this before, but I think it's just a few. The Visitors by George Shea. It was lonely on the farm. There wasn't much to do. Pate sat on the back steps of her house. She looked up at the sky. There are so many stars up there, she thought to herself. Pate noticed one star. It was very bright. It was the biggest star in the sky. Suddenly the star began to get bigger. It got bigger and bigger. She couldn't even cry out. Oh, nope. It got brighter and brighter. Pate could not move. She couldn't even cry out. She could not believe what she saw. She just kept staring up, the whole sky filled with light. Then she saw a large, round spaceship. It was about 100 feet wide. It had orange lights. They blinked on and off. Pate's parents came out of the house. They stood in the yard. They did not speak. They seemed afraid. The ship landed. A door in its side suddenly opened. Two creatures came out. They floated in the air. Then they landed softly on the ground. I want you to pause for just a moment and make some inferences about Pate and what the creatures might be. So pause the video and make those inferences. Start me back up again when you get started. Pate was surprised. She thought to herself, they look just like us. One of the creatures spoke. It said to her, come closer to the ship. We will not harm you. No, said her father. Do not move. Stay where you are, Pate. The creature moved toward Pate. Her father stepped forward. He stood between Pate and the creature. Do not touch her, he said. Then he raised his arm. I want you to pause for just a moment, and I want you to ask yourself, what kind of person is Pate's father? That he's stepped between her and the creature. That's an inference when you think about what kind of person someone is based on their actions. All right, so pause the video, start it back up again when you've got that figured out. The other creature moved behind Pate's father. It put something against the back of his neck. Pate's father fell to the ground. Pate and her mother ran to where he was lying. They were afraid he was dead. He lives. He is fine, said the first creature. He will wake up in an hour. He will not remember this. Suddenly, the other creature was behind Pate's mother. It pressed something against her neck. She fell to the ground too. Pate looked down at her mother. Pate could see that her mother was breathing. She saw that her father was breathing too. Come with us, please, said the first creature. Come into the ship. We need to test you. Test me, said Pate. What do you mean? Why me? You are young. We have already tested others on your planet, but all of them were older. Do not be afraid. We will not hurt you. You will be back with your parents very soon. Pate went into the ship. They put wires on her arms. They put something around her head. It also had wires. The wires went to a machine. It made popping noises. Both creatures looked at the machine. Then they asked Pate some questions. They asked her about her school. They asked her what she learned there. Pate answered their questions. Then she said, "Why do you want to know these things?" One of them said, "It is our job. Our people must know what is happening on other planets. Someday we may talk to the people who run your country, but we will be friends. We will not hurt your people." "Where are you from?" Pate asked. "A planet," one of them said. "Its name does not matter." "We are finishing now," one of them said. Pate felt something against the back of her neck. Then everything went black. I'm so sorry. My daughter just walked in and I was telling her to be quiet. I want you to, in just a moment, pause the video and I want you to think about what you can infer. What can you guess based on the information we have about the creatures? You can start the video back up whenever you have an answer. Pate woke up an hour later. She was lying on the ground in her backyard. Her parents were standing over her. They looked very worried. "Pate, are you all right?" her mother asked. I think so," said Pate. She slowly got to her feet. "What happened?" she said. "We do not know," said her father. "You probably fell down. We found you lying here. We must have fallen too. That is strange. It is very strange. Do you remember what happened?" Pate looked around the yard. Everything seemed the same. Nothing had changed. "No," she said, "I do not remember anything." Weeks went by. Then one night, Pate had a dream. She dreamed about the ship. She saw the faces of the creatures. She saw them put wires on her arms. She saw them put something around her head. She saw the machine. It made popping noises. In the dream, Pate heard the creatures' questions again. They asked, "What do they teach you in school? What do you learn?" Suddenly, Pate woke up. She began to shake. "Girls, I need you to go to the other room. Mommy's recording." Thanks, guys, for being super understanding. Everything in the dream seemed so real. She looked at the clock. It was time to get up. Pate ate breakfast. Then she went to school. That morning, her teacher, Mr. Anya, talked about life in space. He asked the class, "Does anyone believe that there is life on other planets?" Suddenly, Pate remembered everything. She was sure what she had dreamed had really happened. She raised her hand. "I do," she said. "I saw a spaceship. That was just a few weeks ago. It landed in my backyard." The whole class laughed. Mr. Anya laughed too. "That's very funny, Pate," he said. "Now let's stop fooling around." No, I'm telling the truth," Pate said. "The spaceship landed in my backyard. 2 creatures came out of the ship. They took me inside the ship. They asked me questions. And they put wires on my arms. And they put something around my head." "Someone ought to look inside your head," a kid yelled out. And everyone laughed. Pate stood up. "But it's true," she said. "It's true. It is true." "Pate, please sit down," said Mr. Anya. "You must stop this talk. If you do not, I will have to send you to the place for people who need help." Pate did not sit down. She ran to the board. "But it's all true," she said. It's true. I remember it all. I remember their spaceship. There were some words on its side. I could not tell what they said, but they looked like this." She wrote something on the board. Mr. Anya was moving toward her. Pate went on. "And next to the words was a little picture. It was red, white, and blue. The little picture had red and white stripes, and there were stars in the corner of the picture. There were 50 stars. I counted them all. And there were letters near the picture. They said USA. Pate drew the little picture. "See?" she said. A little later, Mr. Anya sent Pate to the place for people who need help. All right, guys, I want you to pause me in just a moment, and I want you to infer from what I just read, where are those creatures from? You can start the video back up in just a moment. All right, I want to thank you guys so much for listening to my story, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in to this lesson on inferencing. I appreciate your understanding. I have my 2 little girls that keep running in here because it is almost dinner time. But I thank you so much for tuning in with me. If you have questions about inferencing, you are welcome to ask your teacher as soon as your teacher returns to school. And if you want to listen to the video again with the story, you are welcome to do so. Please complete the worksheet that's been left for you on inferencing, and have a great day.